All right, everyone, I guess the Democrats have finally strategized what their platform is going to be for the midterms. It's basically Trump is mean, immigrants. That's what it boils down to. There's nothing else they're talking about. They can't talk about taxes or jobs or anything. They've got Laura Bush aboard now. Now it actually made me slightly angry that people weren't pointing this out. Laura Bush sat by and said nothing when her husband allowed hundreds of thousands of Iraqi children to be killed. She sat by and did nothing when Obama's drone program was exposed as a major civilian casualty generator, whereby 3/4 of the people killed by the drone strikes, unarmed civilians. They're not terrorists, they're not militants, they're not members of a foreign army, they're civilians. Little kids and women and children and old men and stuff. People who are not in any combat roles. Laura Bush never called it cruel when Michelle Obama tried to poison every child with shitty school lunches. That one, of course, is a joke. Now, Laura Bush comes out and says, well, it's cruel how these immigrant children are being separated from their families. And I thought to myself, what a fucking hypocrite. What a fucking hypocrite. Laura Bush, though the wife of one of the biggest warmongers of American history, one of the most butcherous world leaders that has ever existed, and you have the gall to say that it's cruel to separate some immigrant children from their families because the Democrats won't help Trump reform the immigration situation? He is following laws that were written decades ago. Why don't people talk about this? I see these Republicans, they're like bending over. They're doing the Republican thing. They're doing the coward thing that they do where they refuse to defend their own positions. Like, they know that Trump's doing the right thing, but they're not willing to say that because they're afraid of getting bullseyed during the midterms. Oh, it'll look like I don't like children. It's basically like the Parkland cult, like that one skinhead from the Parkland cult there. Well, it's going to look like you don't like children if you don't support our moronic bus tour against the Constitution. It's the same stupid shit, and the Republicans, they fall for it every time. The John McCains and the Ted Cruz, they're total cowards. They're like, nope, not touching this one. Yes, my position is wrong. I'm a horrible person. They spank themselves. They say, please don't spank me here. Look, I'm being a good boy. I'll do it myself. That's what they act like. This is why I can't be a Republican. Because they're spineless. They're a bunch of kids. They're not like the Democrats. The Democrats are dumb. The Democrats are corrupt, but they're not cowards. Some of them will actually stick to their guns. Like Bernie Sanders, he's totally nuts on the economy. He's got no clue what he's talking about half the time. He's so geriatric, he's probably demented. But he sticks to his guns. He'll tell you to your face that he wants to double your taxes. Oh yeah, I want to give you all sorts of free stuff. Taxes may apply. That's what Bernie Sanders will do. That's what Trump will tell you to your face, what he wants to tell you. Rand Paul will. Amash will. A few others will. For better or for worse. You don't have to agree with them, but you can at least respect that aspect of their personality. Meanwhile, Laura Bush comes out. Bush. She is a Bush. What are the Bushes known for? The Patriot Act. Oh, wonderful. There have been other instances where Bushes have talked about my children in order to pass shitty policies. Oh, think of the Iraqi children. We're going to liberate all the children. So we're going to go over and kill a bunch of children. Yeah, and at the time it was accepted by people. Oh, yeah, we'll vote for this war. We'll be greeted as liberators. Patriot Act. Oh, we must keep our little children safe. It's basically like, there are two wrapping papers for shitty gifts that Uncle Sam will be giving you. One of them is the wrapping paper with depictions of sad little children on it. The other one is star-spangled, and it's like, you're unpatriotic if you don't want this. Anytime that politicians want to do something totally underhanded and shitty and deflect off their own wrongdoing, they drag out children or hyper-patriotic bullshit rhetoric. Support our political idea or you hate the country. Support this policy or you hate children. Come on. And then now I would say the Democrats have a third wrapping paper. It's covered in pictures of Auschwitz and it's called You're a Nazi If You Disagree With Us. That's basically what it boils down to. It's a bunch of bullshit. Can't you see what these people are doing? Melania comes out. And she's being more even-handed. She's like, well, I think that we should use mercy and, we shouldn't be cruel to people and immigration policy. And it's like, she is an immigrant. So her words, I think, matter to people, including some Democrats more. If Melania Trump is weighing in on anything at this point, it's really rare and it's got to be something that's substantial. But she's standing by Trump fundamentally. She's just saying, hey, fucking negotiate a deal. What Trump has been trying to do for over a year now, hey, the immigration system's broken. We've got states that won't follow the law. We've got cities within those states that will follow the law and are suing their own states. We've got cities that won't follow the law. ICE isn't able to do its job. Our border is porous. There are millions of illegals in the country that are criminals, as well as potentially 10 million that aren't. We've got unaccompanied minors. We've got children. We've got children that were born in the country. They are citizens, but their parents aren't, that have been deported, and they're sitting in a facility at a former Walmart in Texas. By the way, I can remember like 10 years ago when FEMA and some of these groups started converting some of these Walmarts. You remember it was like 5 years ago, some Walmarts in the country mysteriously closed and they were like totally empty and like it was really weird and nobody knew what was going on. And then they started like bringing all sorts of materials to them. What do you think they were doing? At the time, some so-called conspiracy theorists said, hey, they're detention centers. Now we find out, of course, they are. Of course, I was correct as well. They thought it was for the New World Order. They were going to put people in military camps to enslave us all. It turned out it was for the actual crisis, which was the immigration crisis, correctly predicted about 5 years ago. But no, Melania has urged, basically negotiate, work with my husband because he's willing to come to the table. He rejects the sort of watered-down GOP bill that really wouldn't have accomplished anything. It's like basically, okay, we're going to legalize some people and we get nothing out of it. That's not the sort of... Come on. The Republicans, the Mitch McConnells and Paul Ryans apparently thought they could sabotage Trump's re-election chances and get rid of him by making him alienate his core fans by giving up on basically everything related to immigration that he wanted. Big mistake, because he's actually got the balls to tell him, no, I won't sign it, and you don't have the votes to pass it without me signing it in the first place. You don't have a veto override ability on immigration because the Democrats are already against you on it. A few of them hop aboard, of course, and a few Republicans hop off. It was pretty funny. And then Trump's like, no, we need something a bit better than that. Schumer, meanwhile, is the sane man of the Democrats, which is terrifying. It should be terrifying for the Democrats running for re-election that Chuck Schumer would look sane compared to many people in the party. He comes out, he backs China backs Trump on the Chinese tariffs. He's like, well, they need us more than we need them. Yeah, I actually support Trump on that. Schumer's the only one that's trying to work with Trump within the Democratic Party. It's astounding to me. Chuck Schumer would be the one attempting to hammer out a deal. I think it's because he's nervous, because he's got enough common sense to realize, hey, we Democrats are going to suffer monumental losses if we don't at least look like we're trying. The Democrats still think they can win on the immigration issue. Trust me, it has become conspicuous to people like myself who are on the forefront of the anti-Iraq war sentiment of the mid-2000s. It has become fairly transparent why the Bushes are now on board with the anti-Trump movement. It's because you're afraid that it'll solve the problems that you created, ultimately. I think Laura Bush she's feeling bad. A Republican's in office and he hasn't started a war yet. Dick Cheney, he's going to have his 20th coronary. He's going to have to burn through his 4th heart valve transplant pretty quickly. That thing's going to wear out really quick, worrying about whether Trump is actually going to do something with John Bolton. It's pretty funny. Laura Bush, and in fact no Bush, is in a position to weigh in on anything being cruel towards children. Look at the Iraq War and look at what you managed to do over in the Middle East. Then you create a power vacuum, ISIS comes in, they enslave 1 million children and start cutting people's hearts out of their chests and eating them in a show of their supposed bravery. Wonderful job the Bushes and Obamas did. No, when they weigh in and they say, think of the children. Bullshit. You didn't think of the children when you were pit bombing them. You didn't think of the children when you were watching them get enslaved. There was a Senate report back in 2016. It was passed off recently as new news. I was going to do a video before realizing the date. Senate report from 2016, the twilight of the Obama years. Oh yeah. By the way, thousands of people have been given over to human traffickers because the immigration system is all fucked up. We don't have any real situation in which we can determine whether the person who shows up for little Jimmy is actually little Jimmy's relative or legal guardian. So we're basically, we accidentally gave some thousands of kids to slavers. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm sorry that your nephew is being prostituted by cartel members somewhere in Guatemala. We don't know where he is. It was an accident. It's okay, dude. It happens all the time. It happens to the best of us. Sometimes you accidentally sell your kids into slavery, says Uncle Sam. Fuck it. Obama didn't know what was going on, just like with Fast and Furious. He thought of the kids there that were gunned down with those machine guns, by the way. Obama didn't know about what the NSA was doing either. He was a no-see-em president. He didn't see him. He didn't see anything going on. He learned about it on CNN. Trump, meanwhile, he makes everything central about him. He's like, yeah, I know what's going on. Trust me, it's you, just bigly. That's what Trump does. If something goes wrong, at the very least, you know who's responsible for it, because he does everything himself. It's actually remarkably good at working at this thing. No. Laura Bush is an ass. A withered old stick insect, basically. It's like, and just think, now that Mama Bush is dead, she's the sane Bush. And she's still corrupt as all hell. Oh, it's so cruel. What just ignore W's war crimes, for which he should have really been thrown in a jail cell. Just ignore the fact that he fucked up the whole country and made every millennial child miserable by tanking the job market through his stupidity. Yeah, no, he's not cruel at all. Look at Trump. Oh my God. Minors have been separated from their parents. That wouldn't be a problem if you hammered out an immigration reform deal. He is enforcing laws that other presidents signed off on, including W. Did you know this? No, of course not. W was the one that expanded the detention program. He's the one who started building all the FEMA centers and shit. What do you think they were for? A lot of people, if you were a religious Christian, you thought it was about jade helm and socialist Kenyan Muslim takeovers once Obama was in office. If you were sane, you speculated, oh, this is probably for a natural disaster or the immigration crisis. Those of us who were sane, of course, turned out to be right. As always, because those people, and they'll call you a shill if you analyze it that way. So you don't think that Uncle Sam is going to very visibly declare martial law and force you to take the mark of the beast on your hand? You are a shill. And it's like, what are you talking about, dude? No, it's called pragmatism. They were built for a reason. The problem, we wouldn't need those centers if there wasn't an immigration crisis. If you had solved this problem, Obama had the votes for the first 2 years. W had the votes variously. Clinton had the votes, and certainly the charismatic public support. Everyone since Reagan has had at some point the ability to solve this problem. They never wanted to do it. Trump is doing the hard work and he's being demonized for it. I respect him for thinking that it's a good idea to reform the system once and for all. Take it off the table as a wedge issue in every fucking election. Immigration has at least been a side burner issue in every election since the 1980s. And you're telling me that finally we have a president with the balls to handle the situation, and who should, if he has the will of his party behind him, he has the votes already to deal with it. Nope, they're not willing to do anything. They'll call him cruel for suggesting that a law that was implemented, policies implemented years ago, should actually be enforced, and the executive should not pick and choose what is enforced. That's not part of that's not executive power. The legislator made a law, the executive signed off on it, and then ignores it? That's not the way our legal system is supposed to work. If you don't like the fact that sometimes the parents get deported and the children who are citizens or lawfully here under some other program in some variant, if you don't like the fact that they're split apart, reform the immigration system. Don't fucking pretend that Trump's not the one that wants to. He's the one that wants to reform it, along with a handful of Republicans and a handful of Democrats. The establishment, the swamp, is standing in his way. They're the ones that are cruel because they don't want to tackle the issue, because they don't have the balls. That's about all. Peace out.